Let me tell you a little about him and you'll understand why Paul Brown Petty was a good old man. He grew up in the Depression and he fought in the war. He never talked too much about the other shore. He was real good looking in his uniform, Officer Petty in 44. And you might say, hey, what's so great? Sounds like a simple man. He wasn't rich or famous, but to me, he sure was grand. Married a girl from down the street, built her a house down by a creek. One girl, two boys, 5 mouths to feed. Paul Brown Petty built a family. He opened a shop down on the square. He'd set you on up in his barber chair, get a summertime buzz or a real close shave. Get you all cleaned up, send you on your way. And you might say, hey, what's so great? Sounds like a simple man. He wasn't rich or famous, but to me, he sure was grand. He was a Cumberland Presbyterian. Went up to meet his maker in 91. Sometimes when I talk about him I get sad. You see, Paul Brown Petty was my granddad. His courage runs down in my blood, his kindness in my eyes. If you can see a man in me, he's the reason why. Paul Brown Petty was a good old man. He felt a little better when he shook your hand. If you could have known him, you'd understand why Paul Brown Petty was a good old man. It's true, my grandmother and he kind of grew up down the street from each other. They're from a small town called Waverly, Tennessee, which is about an hour and a half outside of Nashville on some back roads, and it's literally the hills, so I have hillbillies in my family. And they grew up like, gosh, maybe like 200, 300 yards from each other, and I'm pretty sure they had to make sure they weren't related before they started dating. But it was a small town, and they were married for almost 60 years before he passed away. Isn't that really cool? So when I think about making marriage work, I think about them. And my grandmother died about 13 years after he did, and for so many years, she moved in with my mom and stepdad and I, and every day she'd be like, I sure do miss Paul, you know, and like, all right, Nana, we know you're going to see him someday, you know, and for 13 years. But it was that kind of marriage. And the day that she died, she was in hospice. And I had been there earlier that morning. My mom was with her most of the day, and they said that she was going to pass away that day. So Mom stayed with her, and she was in and out of sleep a lot, and she woke up and looked over to my mom, and she said, Judy, that's my mom's name. She said, I see Paul, and he's standing out by the creek. And she says, he looks like he's 25, just like when we got married. And Mom said, well, what's he saying? She says, well, he wants me to go with him. And Mom said, well, go with him. And she died. Isn't that cool? I couldn't make